I'm Matt Smith. Right now on Upfront, the candidates for Attorney General standing by: incumbent Democrat Josh Kaul, Republican challenger Eric Toney, head-to-head for the next half hour. A special edition of Upfront begins now.
Taking on the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Upfront.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Matt Smith. The candidates for Attorney General are here, ready to go. Incumbent Democrat Josh Kaul is seeking his second term as Attorney General. His challenger, Fond du Lac County District Attorney Eric Toney, the Republican. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Let's get right to it. As the state's top cop, Milwaukee is on pace to see a record number of homicides again this year in the city. Mr. Toney, you want the Justice Department to take over original jurisdiction here in Milwaukee and prosecute some cases. How would you staff that and how would you fund that? And as an elected DA, does this go against a core principle of local control?
Not at all. What I've said is we've seen historic violence in Milwaukee. It's a sad reality when parents can't feel safe in their homes, people can't feel safe in their vehicles, and parents won't let their children go to parks because they're afraid of stray bullets. And this is Milwaukee, this is Wisconsin, and I refuse to accept this record violence as the new normal. That's why I've said our Attorney General's office needs to have original prosecution authority to take on the cases they're unable or unwilling to prosecute, and adding additional DCI agents as well as prosecutors in our criminal litigation unit at the Department of Justice. The sad reality during this historic violence, our Attorney General has effectively defunded these positions. Earlier this year, the Wisconsin State Journal ran a story where they were at about a 30% vacancy rate with those prosecutors from the organizational charts that were probably provided by the Attorney General's office. And the director of DCI earlier this year at a Badger State Sheriff's Conference, Tina Virgil, said that our DCI positions were at 88 out of 113 positions filled. Her words, not mine. That's a near 25% vacancy where we need someone that's going to make public safety the #1 priority. That doesn't even get into the mismanagement of our crime labs.
Well, we're going to talk about vacancies. Mr. Kaul, you're proposing adding 2 new violent crime prosecutors as your overall new budget proposal. That budget proposal would increase by some 10% in part to address crime. Are those prosecutors specifically for the city of Milwaukee, and why at this point shouldn't the state step in more?
Well, first, the level of violence that we have seen in Milwaukee, but also communities across the country in the wake of the pandemic, is unacceptable. As the Attorney General, I have overseen a department that investigates and prosecutes the most serious crimes in the state of Wisconsin. We've put serial rapists behind bars. We've worked on cases where there are homicides and the body couldn't be found. I'm a former federal prosecutor, and we need somebody who brings that kind of experience to the job. Now, I have proposed comprehensive public safety plans. My Safer Wisconsin plan would invest in law enforcement, it would invest in victim services, it would invest in mental health crisis response. It also proposes some common sense gun safety measures like universal background checks. Now, we've heard attacks from my opponent throughout this campaign. He's trying to find whatever mud he can to throw at the wall and hope something sticks. He knows that the facts that he's citing right now are not correct, that they are just inaccurate. And this is a pattern we've seen from Mr. Toney. His friends, 6 of them, who he had known for years, sometimes for decades, said they don't recognize the candidate they see running for Attorney General. When he was asked who he voted for president, he said he needed to talk to his political consultant. We should have a debate based on the facts and based on what's right for Wisconsin, not based on what some political consultant says.
I'd like to respond to that. So these are not my words. These are the words of his director of DCI, Tina Virgil, and he has not refuted it. He refuses to address that specific issue. So I'm challenging our Attorney General, release the organizational charts for DCI redacted without names to see how many positions there are, how many vacancies there are. You refuse to address that issue.
Mr. Toney's just lying. I need to respond to this. The data about those positions is out there. It's publicly available. WisPolitics has reported on it. I hope you run that data at the end of this segment. That data shows that our Division of Criminal Investigation has had 90% staffing or higher throughout my time in office. Mr. Toney knows that, but he's trying to pursue a false narrative here. The truth of the matter is, throughout my time in office, I have called for more resources for public safety in Wisconsin. Mr. Toney has offered no serious plans for public safety because he won't stand up to his own party and call on them to increase shared revenue and to increase funding for critical local law enforcement services.
So what he just said was that his director of DCI is lying because that's her words, not mine, and he again refuses to acknowledge it. He has an opportunity right now to say she's wrong on the numbers, but he won't do it because he knows that Tina Virgil is right on the numbers. And I've stood up to my party. Anybody that paid attention to the Republican primary saw that happen where I enforced the rule of law. unlike our Attorney General, I don't pick and choose when to enforce the rule of law.
Let me interject for one moment. Our editorial partner, WisPolitics, did request and obtain data that found 10% of the DOJ's special agent positions currently vacant, 13% of criminal prosecutors. Is that data accurate?
That data is accurate. Mr. Tony has seen that. So what he's been saying for this debate is a lie. The truth of the matter is we have 9 positions, we're 81 out of 90 filled. We're also in the process of hiring 12 more DCI agents, and throughout my administration, we've had over 90%. What he
Mr.
is telling you
Call,
is
all
not
you have
true.
to do is address Tina Virgil's comment. Will you address that right now, right here, and say she's wrong?
We just gave
Will
you the
you
numbers.
address
You just-
Tina Virgil's comments
So,
right now, right here, and
let me
say
say
she's
this.
wrong?
As the Attorney General, you can't go out and make public statements based on secondhand information that you haven't verified. You have to have your facts right.
Will
For
you
months,
verify?
Eric Toney has been saying something that is not true. And instead of admitting that it's false, you just read the numbers. We know it's false.
And
he
this
won't
is,
admit it
there
in
he
front
goes.
of you.
He's dodging the question and refuses to answer the question because he knows the director of DCI saying 88 out of 113 positions are filled a near 25%. And he hasn't even addressed the vacancy rate for the prosecutors earlier this year.
We'll circle
about
back to
32%.
vacancies. We'll circle back to vacancies. I want to move on. President Biden has recently announced mass pardons for anyone convicted of marijuana possessions. He's urged governors to do the same in states across the country. I'm curious what you as Attorney General would advise the Wisconsin governor to do. Mr. Call.
My view is that we should legalize medical marijuana in Wisconsin. I think that that is a step that we need to take. There are people who are suffering from terrible diseases, some people suffering from cancer, who can't get the help that they need. And if people can get relief, I think they should be able to get it. So I have been a proponent of legalizing medical marijuana. I think we should see how that goes and then assess where to go from there. Now, my opponent has taken a very different view. He believes that we should focus on marijuana prosecutions and make that a priority. I believe our investigative and prosecutorial resources should go to the most serious crimes, like investigating and prosecuting drug traffickers who are dealing fentanyl and heroin and the other most serious drugs, not that we should be diverting resources from that.
Mr. Tony, how would you advise the governor?
If anybody's serious about prosecuting violent crime or any crime, they don't leave prosecutor or DCI positions vacant. But when we look at marijuana, we've heard the phrase for about 2 years now, follow the science. And when you look at the science, it's not there yet. We need to see actual studies on medical marijuana that if a doctor can prescribe it, we can know how many milligrams dosage and what it actually does. Because at the end of the day, if the science supports it and it can reduce the dependency on opioids, that could be fantastic for Wisconsin as we have record-setting opioid deaths. That was something our Attorney General campaigned on 4 years ago, hammering Attorney General Brad Schimmel, and it's only gotten worse on his watch as we're seeing record opioid deaths with fentanyl killing kids in our streets. And so if the science supports it, it could be fantastic for Wisconsin, but we need to see the science.
Let's talk.
First, Mr. Tony knows that the federal government hasn't allowed for testing, which is why the science is behind. So this is a game where you can never meet the test he set. On opioids, we have taken on opioid companies. We've sued Purdue Pharma. We joined multi-state investigations into opioid distributors, and we've helped secure over $400 million that's going to go to communities across the state of Wisconsin to help fight that epidemic. We've also had some of the most successful drug takebacks in the country, and we have put drug traffickers behind bars. We need to keep investing in resources, and my Safer Wisconsin plan would help to do this. Now, when it comes to prosecutor positions, Mr. Tony is also trying to mislead the public on this because as the data that you referred to shows, there are currently 4 vacant positions total, and 2 of those are positions we got from the governor's office that we requested through the COVID relief money. One of them is a person who just got appointed Portage County DA. So again, we have worked throughout my administration to fill every position that we can afford to fill within our budget, and we have investigated and prosecuted some of the most serious cases in the state.
When we look at the opioid settlement, there were 3 county executives that criticized the Attorney General, saying he was basically nowhere to be found during those efforts until the very end. It's in that same Wisconsin State Journal story where all of a sudden, when it looked like there might be a settlement, there was a flurry of activity from the Attorney General's office. And what I've said about those vacant prosecutor positions was March of this year, not now, March of this year. You're trying to cover for your failure of not prioritizing public safety, where you had 6 vacant positions. It's not difficult to recruit prosecutors and DCI agents for our Department of Justice. That's the crown jewel of where people want to go. We have a challenge recruiting prosecutors, assistant district attorneys across Wisconsin because of the low starting pay, and we rely on those DCI agents for arsons, homicide, child sexual assaults. We rely on those prosecutors, and that reduction has made it more difficult for law enforcement and prosecutors, where I was just in Eau Claire, where one of the sheriffs was saying that DCI office is at about 50% staffing.
All right, we
Matt, I need
got
to-
to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about staffing when we come back. Our conversation here continues. It's just beginning. Josh Call, Eric Toney, more ahead. Stay with us.